Hey, welcome to the first video in this little chat we're going to have about the flow state, which can also be labeled or synonymous with an optimal state, or broken down even more, thinking of a state where you perform your best, you feel your best, and you're also able to make corrections in real time, and not only that, but gain insight about what you're doing so that you're able to replicate that in the future. So we're going to talk about just the characteristics in this video. The second video will talk a little bit more about the environmental conditions, and then the third video will talk about what is happening cognitively when you're in this state. So what you need to understand is that by knowing what the markers are, knowing what the blueprint of the feeling is when you're in the flow state, you're going to be able to recognize and induce this in yourself much more readily than if you don't know the markers. So let's get right into it. The acronym that you want to remember is going to be 4 letters. It's STER. First one is selflessness. Second one is timelessness. Third one is effortlessness. And the last one is information richness. And I'm going to attempt to tie this to yoga and or fitness modalities that are best for inducing the flow state, since we are a yoga and fitness channel. That way it'll be a little more relevant to your mind, more salient. You might be able to remember it easier and, again, evoke it out of yourself. So the first acronym, part of the acronym, the letter, is selflessness. And this is a feeling of egolessness. So if you are a yoga practitioner, you'll probably be able to recognize this state. This is something that when you're doing yoga or you're moving and you're connecting the breath to the body, you kind of forget about yourself, meaning like that self-editing that typically is associated with everyday life, like how am I doing? Am I doing this correctly? You know, what music are they playing? You know, am I wearing the right thing? Kind of that shuts down. And as a result, the self-editing that is turned off temporarily allows the part of you that is less concerned with your outer appearance and your inner doubt to kind of quiet down, and that allows you to experience whatever it is that you're doing in such a way that you feel incredibly connected, because there is no longer a barrier of that filter of noise, so that, you know, this is the movement, this is you, there's doubt, there's nagging, all that is gone, and you kind of become connected. One of the best ways to do that, I would argue, would be through a yoga practice. However, there are different types of modalities that can also induce this state. Think of movements that flow. This can be body weight, this can be with kettlebells, but I feel like yoga is probably the easiest access to achieve that first part. The second part that you might experience when you're getting into the flow state is this idea of timelessness. So timelessness can work one of 2 ways. It can have the feeling of time dilating, where, for example, it feels like a minute lasts for an hour, or it can do the reverse. It can feel like a minute or an hour lasts for 1 minute. So time passes by really quickly if you're having a good time, or if you're in such a state that you're so connected with yourself, it can feel like the minute is lasting forever. It's like expanding, and not only is it expanding, but you're also connected, so it feels as if you are manipulating time in a sense. Again, one of the best ways to do it is through yoga, particularly by using the breath, because you can tap into your parasympathetic nervous system, which does a lot of things for the body, one of which is kind of creating this feeling of calmness, yet being alert. The second, or the third letter, is E. This is effortlessness. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not exuding energy. So there's 2 different ways to think about this. So effortlessness means that what you're doing perceptually for you feels like it's perfect. Like everything that you do is right on point. Your balance, your shifting of your weight, your connection to your core, your connection to your back, your imagination, your visualization in what you're doing is so harmonized that it all feels like you can't do anything wrong. If you think about it as a sport, you can think of like if you are shooting bowling, you're hitting a strike every time, or shooting a basketball, you're hitting every shot. In yoga, it would be something like you're going from movement to movement, including inversions, like crow, handstand, side crow, and everything is just perfect. So it doesn't mean that you're not exuding effort. You are, and to the outside, it might seem to somebody like, wow, they are really, going full out, but it's not effort for you, because perceptually you feel like you're just kind of moving from position to position, and there is a sense of this connection to your inner reality and your outer reality that's completely balanced. So you're balanced with the environment, and you're getting all of this in real time, which is amazing. The last bit is information richness, and this is going to lead into the talk about the cognitive side of things when you're in the flow state. But the last letter in the acronym is information richness, and the easiest way to think about this or conceptualize it is that the resolution of reality, of your environment, it gets jacked up to like a level 10. So colors might appear more vibrant, your feeling in your body might feel enhanced, where like your sense of balance, your sense of speed, your sense of power, it's all jacked up. You feel a little bit more than you do than when you're not in this state of flow. You could also think of it as, if you have, for example, a photo that isn't good resolution and it's blown up, that it looks all pixelated. But if you take like a 4K photo and you blow it up, not only is it clear, but you're going to be able to notice details that you haven't noticed before. And later on, this will get into how it affects the mind, because when you blow things up to a higher resolution and it's clear, you're able to see details that you haven't seen before, things that might not have been relevant prior to this feeling of this information, or this taking in of information at a higher rate. All of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, this isn't as important as this, and that's where you can make corrections in real time. So there you have it. Brief overview, a brief summary. This is the for lack of a better word, the characteristics or the markers of flow state. You have STER, S-T-E-R, selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and information richness. I would submit that yoga is probably one of the best modalities to get into this state, but you can also do it with workouts. I would say that it would have to be workouts that move from simple to complex, so that they develop in complexity. That way it's stimulating mentally as well as physically. And then there is a thread of either connecting the breath to the body or being mindful, because believe it or not, the more you practice in mindfulness, the easier you're going to be able to get into the flow state. So yeah, that's the flow state. And if you have any questions, please hit us up. Otherwise, stay tuned for the next video, where we'll talk about what exactly the environmental conditions are for getting into this state.